Think you can recognize the most legendary music stars who defined the golden decades of the 70s and 80s? These two decades produced some of the most innovative sounds and unforgettable performers in music history, from arena rock anthems to disco fever to new wave revolution. You'll see a recent photo of these iconic artists and get 5 seconds to guess who it is. Then we reveal them in their prime from their most memorable music video moments. Keep score as you go and share your results in the comments. Let's get started. That's the synth pop pioneer, Howard Jones, whose optimistic anthems like "Things Can Only Get Better" brought philosophy to the dance floor, and whose one-man electronic performances revolutionized what live music could be. He was among the first artists to perform using only synthesizers and drum machines, requiring no traditional band members, and still composes on the same vintage equipment he bought in 1983. He's 70 in 2025. You're witnessing the guitar virtuoso Steve Vai, whose technical mastery is so advanced that music colleges teach entire courses based on his compositions, and whose "For the Love of God" solo makes grown guitarists weep with its emotional intensity. He played guitar with his teeth before it became a gimmick and can perform complex solos while doing backflips, proving that showmanship and skill aren't mutually exclusive. He's 65 in 2025. Behold the new wave architect Thomas Dolby, whose "She Blinded Me with Science" was recorded entirely on equipment he built himself using circuit boards salvaged from broken electronics, making him music's original tech entrepreneur. He later founded several Silicon Valley companies. He's 66 in 2025. That's the power ballad king Journey's Neil Schon, whose soaring guitar solos complemented Steve Perry's vocals perfectly, and whose technical ability seamlessly blended rock, jazz, and blues influences within the same song. He owns over 200 vintage guitars and can play note-perfect solos from memory, decades after recording them, making him one of rock's most reliable virtuosos. In 2025, he's 71. Here's the blue-eyed soul sensation, Hall & Oates' Daryl Hall, whose voice anchored more #1 hits than any other duo in pop history, and whose Private Eyes hand-clapping sequence became audiences' favorite participation moment. His monthly web concert series, Live from Daryl's House, pioneered artist-to-fan streaming before platforms made it mainstream, proving his continued innovation. He's 78 in 2025. You're looking at the keyboard wizard Styx's Tommy Shaw, whose guitar work actually, let me correct that, you're seeing the prog rock master Yes's Trevor Rabin, whose guitar heroics powered the band's biggest commercial success with Owner of a Lonely Heart. His film score work for movies like Armageddon proved that prog rock complexity translates perfectly to cinematic drama, and he scored over a dozen major Hollywood productions. In 2025, he's 70. Witness the theatrical genius Alice Cooper, who invented shock rock decades before anyone else dared, and whose elaborate stage shows featuring guillotines and live snakes required fire departments to issue special permits. He's been completely sober for over 40 years and plays golf daily, proving that even the wildest performers can find peace and longevity. He's 77 in 2025. You're seeing the guitar innovator, the edge of U2, whose effects-laden soundscapes defined stadium rock for an entire generation, and whose delay pedal technique influenced every guitarist who followed. His guitar rig requires a dedicated technician and fills an entire truck, yet he can create his signature sound with just a basic guitar and single effects pedal when necessary. In 2025, he's 63. That's the leather-clad pioneer herself, Suzi Quatro, the first female rock star to play her own instruments and write her own material, proving that women could rock just as hard as any male musician. Her jumpsuits were so tight that she needed assistance getting dressed for every show, yet she performed complex bass lines while singing lead vocals, a technical feat that influenced every female rocker who followed. In 2025, she's 74. Here's the art rock visionary, Talking Heads' David Byrne, whose oversized suit in Stop Making Sense required custom tailoring and weighs 37 pounds. Yet he performed complex choreography, wearing it for entire concerts. He bicycles to every performance and has written 3 books about urban planning, showing that artistic vision extends beyond music into social commentary. He's 73 in 2025. That's the new romantic icon, Duran Duran's John Taylor, whose bass lines defined the MTV generation and whose slap bass technique influenced every new wave musician who followed. He learned by copying Chic Records note for note and can still perform the entire Rio album blindfolded, having rehearsed those songs over 10,000 times during the band's peak touring years. He's 65 in 2025. That's the guitar hero Cheap Trick's Rick Nielsen, whose checkerboard guitars became rock's most recognizable instruments, and whose onstage guitar-throwing finale required roadies to collect dozens of instruments after every show. His guitar collection exceeds 400 instruments, and he personally maintains each one in playing condition, treating them like a curator manages museum pieces. In 2025, he's 77. That's the art rock pioneer King Crimson's Robert Fripp, whose mathematical approach to guitar created impossibly complex yet beautiful compositions, and whose Frippertronics tape delay system influenced ambient music decades before the genre had a name. He founded a guitar instruction school based on his philosophical approach to music, proving that technical mastery requires spiritual discipline as much as physical practice. He's 79 in 2025. Witness the punk poet Television's Tom Verlaine, whose guitar interplay with Richard Lloyd created punk's most sophisticated musical arrangements and whose 10-minute guitar solos prove that punk could be both rebellious and musically complex. His influence on alternative rock is immeasurable, though he remained deliberately obscure throughout his career, preferring artistic integrity to commercial success. He passed away in 2023. You're seeing the guitar virtuoso Adrian Belew, whose innovative techniques included using household objects as guitar picks, and whose work with King Crimson, Talking Heads, and David Bowie showcased his versatility across multiple genres. He can make his guitar sound like elephants, whales, or industrial machinery using only his hands and effects pedals, proving that creativity matters more than traditional technique. He's 75 in 2025. That's the keyboard wizard Journey's Jonathan Cain, whose piano intro to Don't Stop Believin' became rock's most recognizable opening, and whose songwriting partnership with Steve Perry created arena rock's most enduring anthems. He wrote the song's famous lyrics on a napkin during a late-night diner conversation, proving that inspiration strikes in the most ordinary moments. In 2025, he's 75. Here's the rhythm master Stuart Copeland of The Police, whose drumming innovations included incorporating world music rhythms into rock arrangements decades before world music became mainstream, and whose film scoring career has produced over 50 soundtracks. He claims his police rhythms were inspired by his CIA operative father's Middle Eastern experiences, making espionage an unlikely musical influence. He's 73 in 2025. Behold the guitar pioneer Andy Summers of The Police, whose effects-heavy playing created atmospheric soundscapes that influenced every alternative rock guitarist who followed, and whose jazz background brought harmonic sophistication to punk-influenced arrangements. He's also a published photographer whose images have been exhibited worldwide, proving that artistic vision transcends individual mediums. He's 82 in 2025. So how many of these 70s and 80s legends did you recognize? Drop your score in the comments. Bonus points if you can name the breakthrough albums or signature innovations we referenced. These artists didn't just create great music, they pioneered the sounds, techniques, and technologies that modern music still relies on today. From synthesizer programming to guitar effects to production innovations, the 70s and 80s laid the foundation for everything that followed. If you enjoyed this journey through music's most innovative decades, smash that like button, subscribe for more legendary content, and share this with fellow music enthusiasts. More revolutionary artists are coming soon. See you next time.